Hi everyone, it's me, Ban, and welcome to a daily update on my learning on philosophy from the philosophy book. So, in today's section, I'll be covering the philosophy of Confucius, I think, which is called Junzi. And in this section, I'll cover two main things. That is the Junzi thinking style and the relationships that we should maintain and keep it properly if we're following Junzi. So, the path that Junzi takes is that faithfulness and sincerity is shown in rituals and ceremonies, specifically traditional rituals and ceremonies, which means that it allows virtue to be like visible. It gives the people that they see us as being virtual. So this means that the being virtual is being manifested in the world, and this obviously means that it can be seen by others. So if I'm virtue, like for example, they see me good habits, on the first impression, they'll think that I'm a good guy, I guess. And then this means that others can be transformed by virtue, meaning that they take into account for someone's kindness and they like strive to be kind themselves, which means that in conclusion, faith and sincerity equals the power of transformation. So I think the interesting thing about this is that faith and sincerity is like basically just loyalty and caring for other people. However, I think there's a flaw with this, in my opinion, because if we're too loyal or like too sincere for other people, we help each other too much, we won't have time to focus on our individual needs, which means that like we're not individualistic and we don't really regard our individual needs, which means that we don't really take good care of ourselves, and it leads to other after effects. So that's the flaw that I think the Junzi thinking has. Next are the relationships that we have to maintain if we want to have good Junzi. Firstly, it's the sovereign and the subject. So the sovereign here is basically a person of higher authority. For example, it could be a teacher, principal, and the subject is usually a student or a scribe, the person studying the sovereign. Then there's the father to son, which is like the relationship between the dad and the son. Like it has to be good in order to give dad joy and like give the son like development, I guess. And then there's husband and wife, which maintains, it's basically just telling us that we have to maintain a good marriage. And then there's brother to brother, between siblings in the family, and friend to friend, which means that the smaller friend usually should respect the older friend, and the older friend should be more leading and like not bringing both of them down. So what's interesting here is that I don't see the mom to son, because it's only the father to son, and I think that this was mostly because in Confucius time, women weren't really respected, so that's why there's no woman to son. But I think that if the relationships in Junzi included woman or like mom to son, I think it will have like a better bonding like experience within the family. So those are the relationships that we have to maintain if we want to have good Junzi according to Confucius philosophy. So in my opinion, this philosophy, whether it's really interesting, but it's kind of old-fashioned that men are better than women, and I think that obviously that's not true at all, because women have their own strengths and men have their own strengths, each specializing in like each field. And generally, the only flaw with this philosophy is that it's kind of like sexist. It doesn't value the woman's life more like the same as the man's life. So yeah, that's my opinion on this topic, and that was the covering of Junzi or Confucius philosophy in a nutshell. So that's all for my video. Thank you for listening and have a nice day. Bye.